Hi, nice to see you again. It is a great pleasure for me to say welcome. This is Netcode-Hub channel. In this channel, we teach Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server application development, also .NET MAUI, that is for desktop and mobile app development. We have a lot of videos and projects in our playlist, so check our channel playlist and you're going to find these informative videos over there. Okay, this video we are going to talk about creating a simple build tracker. So when I say build tracker, this application is actually to track our own build. Okay, so how is this build tracker going to work? You know, monthly we have to pay some bills monthly or yearly or weekly. So in such case, we are going to create an application whereby we're going to set our default builds. And now when the date is up, or when the date catches up, it's going to automatically get us a notification for going to pop up our bill that we need to pay. If we refuse to pay the bill, it's going to keep it. The next time a new bill is going to come, and now it's going to tell us the current month that we couldn't pay, also the new month that has come. We're going to see that as well. It is just a simple application that we're going to do here. Aside from that, you're going to have a history whereby all paid bills are going to be shown over there as history. That's very simple. So with our bill, you're going to perform all the required operations in it. So you're going to create, you can create by adding new bill. You can also delete bill. You can just update bill as well. And so let's start with that. So if today is the first time of coming to or watching a video from Netcode-Hub channel, then please just subscribe because we want to do so. It counts a lot. And I think also subscribe to us as well. Anytime that we upload a project or a lesson, you get notification to watch it. If you haven't subscribed to, please just do that for us, for the old viewers. And also, you can also give this video a thumbs up in case you like what we are doing, so this video can get to a lot of people to also watch. When you do that, you also help the channel as well. Thank you so much for doing that. I believe you have given the thumbs up and also subscribed already. All right, so let's see. Now the interface that you see here, it is the home page. As soon as you create the application, that is where we are now. That is the home page. So you launch the app and you are in here now. So from here you can see we have this bill that we can actually go on. So let's click on this bill, and this bill is going to give us a space whereby we can manage our bill data. So in here we have to add our bill records here. So you can see we have this add, edit, and also delete, and we have this cancel buttons. We also have this search button as well that we can make a search out of the data that we have created. So let's click on add new bill. As soon as I click on this add new bill, it's going to pop up a dialog box whereby I can decide to, or I can just create my bill in here. Okay, so you can see from here we have this bill name, and we have this bill period. We have the amount that I need to pay. Is it activated? Is it active? So is it starting? And choose a start date. So here the current date it is starting from, as you can see, we have the current date. So we are not using the previous date. You want to start from the today's date up forward. Okay. Now let's see. So I can just close it again, or I can just click on this again to pop up the dialog box. Now let's say this. I'm going to write something like electricity because we have to pay electricity bill all the time. That is for every month, so I can pass in electricity bill. Now here I have only one bill period, that's a monthly, and you can see the amount that I need to pay here. Let's say I need to pay 450.55 Ghana cedis, and here it is active. So when is it starting? I want to start maybe 16th. So next month 16th is going to be 1 month, right? So let's choose maybe the 16th, and that is the starting date here. And that is 16 September 2023. So as soon as I click on add bill, this is going to be added. As you can see from here, we have the bill amount specified, we have the starting date, we have the bill active, so that is true. You can also click on this to edit as well. So as soon as I click on that, you can see I have the following data that I can also make an edit here. Okay, and I can choose or close it as well. And I can also delete it. So as soon as I click on delete this, it asks me if I want to do this. If I click on OK, it's going to clear this off. All right, so now I have one bill here that is for monthly. So if I go to my home tab, you can see you have here something like, it seems you don't have any due bill. So meaning that we have no bill. That is because we haven't gotten to the end of the month. So as I speak, we have no bill at hand or due bill, and there's no recent payment history as well. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. When we check the source code for this, we said monthly, so it's going to add 1 month to the current date that we selected. When we check our bill, you see we have this as 16/09 2023, so that's the starting date. So 16/010 is going to be for 1 month, and that is where our bill needs to be paid or due. Okay, so what we are going to do here is, when we check our date here, we see this is date is 16/09. So in order to have this bill updated, or let's say if it is up to, we have to reduce this to August. So we can, because it is 1 month, and we want to get 1 month up to the 16/09. So let's update this to August. Okay, so we can have access to the bill, because you can see when you get to the home tab, nothing pops up here. So let's change our date time, and let's set this to August instead. So let's set this to September to August, meaning that when you add 1 month to this August, it's going to be 16 September to the date that we specified in here. Today is the 16 September, so August plus 1, I'm going to get you 16 September. Now, as soon as I click on this home tab, let's try to refresh and see if we're going to have our bill generated. Now let's check it up again and see. We have our date over here, and let's see. So let's open our database and let's refresh our bill. So this is our bill that we have. This is September, and it's supposed to be August. So let's change this to August here. That is August, right? So here, let's click on save this and write changes. Okay, so this is August here. So it's going to go and add this August over here. So let's set the current date. Let's see the current date that we have. Let's set it to particular date. All right, so now we are the same 16 September. Okay, now as you can see from here, this is August 16th. So 1 month to this is equal to today's date. Yeah, that is the correct thing. 1 month to the 16th August is going to be 16 September. Now let's click on home, and our bill has to be generated here. That's, we have our bill, because we have the bill name as electricity bill. The bill type is what is monthly, and the month that it is due for payment is August 2023. Date due, that is 16 September over here. This is the amount. So you can see here is an unpaid bill. So when you pay the bill, you know here bill is a bill tracker. So here you're not making payment here, but anytime you go out there and I'll make a payment, you have to come here and check it up here as bill paid. Okay, now let's say now we are in. Let's check up over here. So currently as I speak, we have this bill that is unpaid. Now let's see if next month we haven't also paid, what's going to happen. Now anytime that this pop-up is shown here, it set up a new bill date. Okay, so we see we made it as 9, but it has set up a new bill date. You made it as 8, but it has set up a new bill date that is 9. So it means that 16 September, this is supposed to be overdue for another bill payment. Now let's see, so 9 plus 1 going to be 10. So 16th October, you're going to have another bill ready. Let's check our date, or let's set our date to October. And now let's say that if it's going to pop up and check for, I'm going to get us a next bill. So we're going to move this to October. So September, October, let's change that. So you can see if we have as well as on the 16th October, and the database table that we have here is set to 9th over here. So 1 month plus this 9 is going to get us the October that we expect. So let's refresh this, and we must see another bill generated. So you can see this bill is for September, and it ended up to 16th, that is the 10th October here. Okay, so you can see we have another bill. This bill was August, and the same bill for September, because the August we couldn't pay. Now when we check the database here, it's also going to update this into 10. If I refresh, you can see it has now checked to 10. So it means 1 month plus this is going to get at the that's the 11, that's the November one, which is going to refer to the October bill. Now, in case we decide to also update the same table, no, the same date to October, so let's set this from October to November, so we can have an equal date, assuming that the bill is due. As soon as we refresh this, we're going to have another bill over here, and that's going to be for October, and this is the due date. Okay, so we have 3 bills that we need to pay for August, September, and October, and that is the total bill that we have here. So we're going to add all the 3 here, and that's the total bill that we have. You know, the bill type is monthly, but maybe you can customize it to suit how you want your bill type to be. So we have it in the month and the date and everything over here as well. All right, so in case I make payment I pay the August, and I click on paid. Okay, so if I want to notify the application that this bill has been paid, this September or this August has been paid, I can just go in there and I check this. As soon as I check this, you see it has now moved to bill payment history. September, August is no more there. You can see we have September and October, and I can see as soon as you do that, the bill amount has been reduced. So it means that this is the amount that we need to pay. We have paid one, and this is the amount that we need to pay. When you check this bill history, you can see that the status here has been changed, and now this is paid. The amount is in August, and now this is the amount that we know. If I decide to also pay this October one, and I'll leave this, you can see from here that I have paid October, and now this over here is paid. Now I have September unpaid. Let's see. When you check our database, you can see that it has now moved from November. Let's update the database, the date, and now see if we move to December, it's going to get a pop-up here to see the current date or the current bill also as well. So if I want to check up to December, that is the 12th. Save this. And I can see from here, so 11 plus 1 going to be 12. So 16, 12 is going to have the bill date due for payment. And unless refresh this. So when I refresh this, we must have another bill for November. So you can see September and November is unpaid, whereby August and October are paid. I can also make payment by click on this, and you can see it is paid. So you can see we have here, and we have only one bill unpaid, and that's the current amount that we have. Okay, and it is coming here as for bill payment history. So if I pay this bill as well, you can see it seems you don't have any due bill, and these are the history for payment. You know, they're just a simple application, but you can customize this to suit how you want it to be done. Okay, with the bill type, you can add weekly, yearly, 2 years, any number of type that you want to add. You can do that as well. When you have the basics of this, you can customize it and now move on with this. So this is a simple application that we are going to do today. Okay, so with all this explanation, let's start. So we start by creating a Blazor Server project. We're going to use a Syncfusion component and also SQLite database as well. So now let's start. First I have to close this, and now as you can see from here, I have to create a new project. So let's do that. And now when I'm done with this project, I'm going to leave it at the GitHub, so you can just go in there and now clone it and review as well. All right, good. So let's do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. If you haven't given like to this video, please do that for me. All right, so let's create this project you're going to give this project name as demo Blazor Server. Let's say this is bill tracker. All right, so let's do that. All right, so that's the location, and I'm going to click on next. The version that I'm going to use here, it is 7.0. So I'm going to click on create to get that project created. All right, so our project is ready, and now we have to install some packages because these are the ones that you're going to be using in our project. So first, for our database, we need to install anti-framework core and anti-framework core design, and also .SQLite. Okay, so let's do that, and I'm going to click on this, right click on this project, and I click on unload. And now where I have this project settings, I can have an item group. And now in this item group, I'm going to paste this. So we want to install this, and that is a Microsoft Entity Framework core and also the design. Aside from that, we also want to install SQLite. So let's add that. Alright, so aside from this, we need to install some Syncfusion packages, and these are the packages that we are going to be using in here. So first of all, let's have to install the buttons from the Syncfusion and also the calendar, because maybe we're going to be using the daytime picker and etc. And also we have to use maybe this drop down and also grid. So let's add this package references. So drop down and grid. Now what you have to do again, you have to also use an input, and we need maybe navigations too. So let's add navigations as well. Okay, and we need pop-up. We're going to use pop-up. Let's use the Blazor theme. So let's do that. So these are the packages that we need to install, and these are the NuGet package from the Syncfusion that we are going to be using. Okay, so if you're not having all these package item or package references links, just go in there and now pass in Entity Framework core, design, SQLite, Syncfusion, Blazor button, calendar, drop down, grid, input, navigations, and themes, and now install them from the NuGet package manager. Okay, so once I'm done with this, I'm going to save this. Then I'll reload project with dependencies. And now once I'm done with this, I'll just have to right click on dependencies and I click on manage NuGet packages. So we can just install these packages over from this side. Okay, try to install them here if you don't have these references to add them. Okay, so you can see that as soon as I click on that, I have all the data specified in here, as you can see from this angle. Now we even have an update that we can also make here. So these are the updates that we can do from the Syncfusion, but for now we want to maintain what we have in here. So try to install them, and now from this solution I'm going to build the project. So build this project, and that's going to be all. So try to do that. Pause the video and try to install these packages as I've mentioned earlier on, and let's move on when you are done. Alright, so you can see that here build has seeded and everything is alright. So I can just go in there and I'll close this. And I'll close this as well. Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to do after doing this is we're going to create our connection string. So in our connection string, we're going to do that in the appsetting.json file. So let's go to our Solution Explorer, and now you can see we have the appsetting.json file over here. So let's add our connection string on top, and the data source here is going to be the build.db. So let me add demo. So demo build.db. So that's a database name that we want to add. Okay, now once you are done, let's save that, and now let's create our appdb contest. So this appdb contest, let's put that in a folder in this data. So maybe we can decide to create a folder and I'll name it as database connection. So in here the data, let's add another folder in here, and now let's name this as database configuration. And now inside this configuration, we want to create an application class or model, and that's going to be the appdb contest. So right click on this, add a new class, and now let's have the name as application db contest. You can make a change to this, all right, to suit anyhow you want it, but first let's maintain this. Okay, so once you are done with this, we have to configure this, and by create a constructor like this, and let's see. So the constructor that we need to create, we have to pass in the db context option, And now this is coming from a base class of DB context. So in here we add this base class, and that's a DB context. And now you're passing this class name here, which is referring to the base option, and that is a DB context here. All right, so once you have this, we have to create our models. So with our models that we need to create, let's go to the solution, and at the same data, let's create a folder, and I'll name it as models. So this models, let's go in there and I'll create these separate models that we need. So first of all, we need to create a build model. So right click on this model, and now let's create a class, and the name of this class is going to be build. Now within that build, we want to have some properties such as ID, name, amount, starting date. We want to have active, build period, and that's going to be the relationship, and now build period ID. Okay, so you want to create a one-to-many relationship. So one build ID or the build type may have multiple builds. So one to many, or many of these is going to have one of these. Okay, so many to one or one to many relationship. Now once you have this build period, it means that we have to also create a method known as build period. So let's grab this. Let's go to the same folder, right click on this, add a new class, and now let's see build period. Let's add that. So inside this build period, what are the things that we need to do? We just need three properties here. The first one is going to be the ID, and you know we're going to save to the database, so we need an ID. We need the period name, and we need this list build. So this is going to be the many. So one of this build period links to many of the builds that have been created over here. Now this here is going to ignore the JSON. What does this mean, or what this means here is anytime that you want to call the build data and include this build period, you will see it is linked together, so it's going to perform a recycle or iteration. You're going to look through that and I'll come here because they are linked together. It's like two pieces of things that you join them together. So you join them by using either a rope or a thread or anything like that. So anytime that you do that, you can see the connection is over there. It is tightly linked, and it's going to look through here and look through that. So we have to add the ignore JSON, so that as soon as it gets to this build period and I grab the list or grab the period ID or the period data, that's all. It doesn't have to also go in there and I'll come back, go in and come back again. So you want to maintain that. That's the reason why you need to add this attribute. Okay, now once you're done with this, we also need to have a build history. So this build history is going to contain the history as we saw earlier on from the demo. So let's create a build history, and we do that in here, the same models folder. We add a new class, and now this is going to be the build history. So with the build history, we want to also have the following properties under the build history. So you want to have the build ID, the name, the amount, the due date, is it paid, and also the build type. Now the build type is going to depend on the build period name. Okay, so currently we have only one type, and that is your monthly. You can add weekly, you can add yearly, you can add daily. Any period that you want, you can add it to the period that has been stated over here. Okay, now the last method or the last model that we need to create here is going to be the due build. So if the bill is due, this bill DTO is going to handle that. It's going to transfer it from the database to the user, and as soon as the user make a payment, it's going to transfer it from the user to the bill history model. So let's do that. We right click on this, and I'm going to add a new class, and I'm going to be due bill, and now within this due bill, we are having the same properties that we need from the bill history. Okay, we need ID, bill ID, name, amount, due, paid, and also the bill type. So it looks like the third property that we have created, they all have the same attributes, but don't worry, this attribute is going to work different way from the other. All right, now let's save that. So now we are done with this. You can just go ahead and specify a database table and also the property that's supposed to be used in the database, and you can do that in the app setting.json. not the app setting, the appdb context.cs class. So down here, let's specify the tables that we need. So we need the bills table, we need bills period table, that's going to be the type or the bill type. We need bill history, and so also we need the due bill. So when any bill is due, it got us to come to this due bill table, and as soon as it is paid, then it has to move from this due bill to this bill history table. Okay, good. And this bill table here contains the default bill set by the user, and this bill is going to iterate every month or every number of times that have been stated, also added to the application. All right, so now we have this. What you have to do again is we have to go in there and register this database connection in the app.setting.json. So we can do that from in here, whilst you also add in the Syncfusion Blazor Server. So let's go to the Solution Explorer, program.cs file. Now before the build, let's add this builder.services.add Syncfusion Blazor, and also let's add the appdb context class. And the name of the class that we are given here is going to be this default, because if you check this appdb context here, the name of the connection here, it is default, and that is what we are calling in here. In case it is null, they want to display this to the user. All right, so now let's assume this is ready and set. What we can do here is you can go ahead and perform database migration. But before we do that, we have to build this application first. So let's right click on this, and now let's click on build this application. And if build succeeds, we can go ahead and perform database migration. Yeah, so that is set now. And now let's go for package manager console. If you're not having yours down here, click on tools, and now go to NuGet package manager, and because we have the console here, click on that. So CLS, let's clear screen, and now here ls going to list all the current data that we have here folders. So we open this change directory for cd, and now let's paste this. When passing ls, you see we have the list of the project settings or project files in here. Then we can go ahead and pass in .NET-EF migrations, then add first. Now the reason why we're going to use the .NET is we install entity framework called .design. So that's enabling us to use this migration .NET-EF. Now let's click on add. Now this is going to be the project, and after they're going to generate a migration file. And when it has finished generating, we need to update it. So by updating it, you're going to create a database table and a database name as well. So let's wait for it to get built, and let's move on with that. Sure, so you can see that it is done already. And now what you have to do here is you have to update the database. So .NET EF database, then update. The name of the migration file is first. So let's update that. Yeah, so you can see it is now done. So when we check our Solution Explorer, you can see we have a new folder known as migrations. And now inside it, you can see we have this file in here, and that's the migration file that has been generated for us. Now, aside from that, you see we have this file that is a demo build.db, and this is the database that we have created for this SQLite. All right, so now we are done with this. We can save this, and we can close all these tabs as well. Now, what you have to do here is we're going to create our build service. So in our service, let's have an implementation and an interface. And now with the interface, we are going to create a folder, and now this folder we're going to name it as services. So in the same data folder, let's create a new folder, and I'll name this as services. So this services, let's create an interface here, and I'll name it as iBuild service. So select an interface, and now the name here is going to be an iBuild service. So this iBuild service, what are the properties or the method that we need? An interface comprises of methods names, okay, whereby it has implementation. So on the check here, you can see we are going to add bill async. We are going to update bill. We're going to get bill, single bill. We're going to get all build over here, and we can now delete bill. Okay, now when we check our period, we're going to add period. We can get all periods as well. Okay, and aside from that, if you check this manage bill, we're going to get due bill async. We're going to also get history bill async, and we want to get pay bill async. So with this pay bill, it is accepting a bill ID and now date time. So these are the methods that we need to get or to create. All right, so let's see. Now we are done with this. We have to create an implementation, and this implementation is going to be the build service. So let's grab this, and now let's create a class for that too as well in the same folder. And it's going to be a class, and here it is build service. So this build service, what we're going to do here is, it does inherit from this iBuild service. After inheriting, we have to generate a constructor and inject the service that we have in here. So we can generate a constructor for this, and in here inject the appdb context, that's the database connection class. So we have that. Now the next thing to do here is we are going to add bill. So in case you want to add bill, what can we do? We can just write a simple code to add bill. And I can see that the return type of this is going to be a code and then a message. So we're going to add this, and I'm going to return 1 for the code created, and I can see we have the message as bill created. All right, now let's see for get build. So to get builds, we also doing the same thing. We also going to return a bill. This get bill for a single bill. So we're going to return a single bill here, and I'm passing the ID, and I'll check if it is not empty, return else. We're going to return null as well. Now the next method is the delete. So delete here is going to accept only the ID. Okay, so this delete accept only ID, and I'm going to return the code and then the message. So we check if it is found in the database. In case it is not, return this bill not found. But in case it is found, they want to remove it and now display or return 1 and build created. Okay, now we have the last one for the build session, and that is for this update bill. So with this update bill, we're going to use this simple code to update our bill as well. So you can see it is returning a message and a code. Now with this, it's accepting in a bill object. We check if it is not now, then we can now go ahead and get from the database. In case it is found, populate the name and now save it as well. So that's for the build service. Now let's have a look with this manage period. So with the manage period, you want to have this add period. So the first one here, let's minimize all this. And now let's add the last one. And in here, this is manage bill. So with this manage bill or manage period, this is going to add the period. So this method is going to add the period. And after adding this period, let's see if we can get all period as well. So this method is also going to return the period. So we're going to add and return the period from the database. Yeah, so we have two methods that's going to add and return period. Now aside from this, there's one method that we need to add, and that is a get bill, because we have get bill, single bill, but not having get list of bill, and this method is going to do that. So we include this bill period, and then we convert it to a list and return. Okay, so that's the get bill. You can save that. And now once we are in here, you can see that we have our add period and also get period async. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about here is we're going to prepare all the bill, and now which are waiting for payment. So let's go and prepare them. So let's pass this message across here. And now what we're going to do here is we want to get due bill. Okay, so let's get due bill by using this method to get this due bill as well. So let's copy this. And now in here, due bill. So we're going to paste this here, and that's going to be for the due bill. I intentionally added this comment so we can actually read and understand what we are here to do. So this is the manage building, starting from here, and now you can see it is return a list of due bill, and that is a get due bill. So we first get all the data, all the bills from the database. Okay, then we want to check if the active session is true. Then we want to get all the data. Aside from getting the data, we check if any. Then we want to prepare monthly bill. So we check if any of this is equal to monthly. Then we check if it's any. We want to look through the list that we have over here, and now check if today's date is equal to the bill starting date dot add 1 month. Okay, so if it's equal to that, meaning that this means the bill is due to be paid. So prepare the bill and save it to the due bills table. But first check and see if the bill has been already prepared for the due bill. So check if the bill is not yet prepared, then do that. Okay, and we can do that by checking it from the due bills table and check if the ID it is over there, and also the starting date is equal to the same add month dot plus 1 dot date. If it is, then return. In case it is not now, then add a new bill date. Okay, so in case it's not now, then generate a new object here, and here you're going to populate it. So the bill date, the amount, the bill ID, and also set the pay to false as well because it is not yet paid. All right, now after that, save it to database. And now what we're going to do here is, after saving this, we want to prepare the bill date, the bill starting date to next month. So we have to update the bill table. So we use this method to update the bill table, add 1 month to it, and I will save table. And that's what we are doing here. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is, after bill get due bill, we want to also get our pay bill. So in case I want to pay bill, what's going to happen? So let's minimize this. So if I want to pay bill, that is this pay bill. You know, it is coming with a date. So we're going to check if the bill ID and the date are equal to what we have in there. If it is not now, then set pay to true and I'll save the table. And also prepare the new history, and now move the data from this bill table, this due bill, to the history table. So you can see we add it to the history table, and now here remove it from the due bill. Okay, and that's all. So anytime the bill is paid, it is no more in the due bill. The due bill here comprises of the list of the current or previous bill that needed to be paid. So aside from that, if case the bill is paid, then check the detailed bill as well, or the history bill as well. Okay, now once you have this pay bill async, let's have a last method, and that is a get history bill async. So in case I want to get all histories, what can I do? Let's create this method to get all the history as well. So get bill.history is going to help us to create our bill history. Okay, now I believe everything is set. Now let's check it up. So let's save this. What we need to do here is, after doing all this stuff, we have to create dependency injection and register this service also in the program.cs file. So let's go to the program.cs file, and in there we are going to register the service that we have created. So program, and now here let's add this first. So builder.services.add the interface and then the implementation class. Okay, can now save this. So now let's go in there and now work on the views. So before that, let's go to our solution explorer here, and now you can see we have an import file. So this import, let's add the following namespaces here, because these are the ones that you're going to be using. So I'm going to copy this, and now where we have this name, I'm going to change it to the current project name. Okay, we are using Syncfusion.Grid, calendar, drop down, pop-ups, input, buttons. Drop downs is 2, so let's move one, and also navigation. So we are using these namespaces here, and that's what we need. Okay, now after doing this, what we can do here is we go to the pages folder, and we are going to create a component, and that's going to be the add bill component. So this add bill is going to be used to add bill and so to update bill as well. So let's create this component. Let's go to our solution, and where we have our pages, right click and I click on add, and now you're adding new razor component, and this component is known as add bill. So let's see. So add bill component, and in here I'm going to paste this what I have in here. Then we're going to look through. You know, when you're designing, it takes a little bit of time. So for the design, I'm going to leave it over there. You can just check the GitHub. You can get all the source code that I have. This you can get over there. But quickly, we're going to go through it. It's very simple as well. So because as soon as you have these two routes, it means you're going to accept a parameter for update and also for add. You're going to perform a two purport here. So we have the add bill for adding new one, and add bill that /id here, it means for update. We injected our service and navigation manager, and as you can see we are using an SF dialog box, SF dialog from Syncfusion. Okay, and now we want to create a form whereby you can accept the card, you want to accept the bill data, because when you check this solution models and I check this bill, you want to accept name, amount, starting date, active, and also the bill ID by having a drop down from a foreign key table. And that is what we are doing over here. So we have this item data annotation validator here to handle all errors as well. And you can see we have this dialog, we have the content, and you can see we have an edit form, and there's an object that is coming in. When I click on the button to submit, there's the method that has to execute, and inside here you can see we have this card, and this card we are using an SF test. Okay, SF test box for the name, and we are using the drop down here. So the drop down, we are going to check for this drop down that, you know, this drop down is going to be used for both update and delete. So in case it is updated, in case the ID here is greater than 0, it means it's going to be updated. And if it is updated, then it has a bill period name. If so, then let's set up over here, and I'll set the bill period name here, and now let's use that bill period as a placeholder. Okay, when this button is clicked, this display is going to be off. Okay, but in case it is add, we're going to add the bill one, and that's all. We can actually move on with that. All right, so let's see from this round, the next thing that we are doing here is we're going to use a numeric text box, and now we are binding to the amount. So here there's a format. You want to use that to type in an amount that the person wants. That's the amount that he needs. Also, we have this checkbox as active. We said this, we're going to use the SF checkbox, and you can see we have the SF date picker. So choose date, that's going to handle. As soon as you click on date, you choose date, this event get fired, and that is where we're going to populate the date and assign it to this build date. Okay, build object or date property. And here too, we're doing the same. We're going to populate it and display in case it's going to be added to display the current value, or display now in case it is new one and display just the picker over here. And at the button 2, in case it is greater than 0, then use an update. In case it is less than 0, then use what? Bill. So this is what we are doing. Okay, so you can see we have an update bill, and you can see we have an add bill. Now if you check, you can see we have title, we have this parameter as ID, and that is what it is accepting it as an ID over here. So that's the ID specified. Now you can see we have these two objects here. Now one object is for this drop down, and the other object is for the list of bills. So you can see we have this bill and we have this bill object, and this bill object is going to handle all the bill object here from the form, and on this list bill period, you're going to handle all the period that we have from the database. You know, the database, the current period that we have is 1. Okay, so going to be 1 over here, and you have an error and visibility set, property set over here. Now if you check this, when the page starts, you want to populate this bill period, okay, because you want to display the type in there, and we set this visibility to true. All right, now the next thing that we are doing here is when the parameter changes, then we want to check if the ID is greater than 0, it means the data is being found. Then we want to set the title as what? update bill. That is when the ID is greater than 0. But in case it is less than or equal to 0, then display the add bill. Okay, that's the add bill title. And also, when you check, you can see we have this. So after displaying the add bill title update, we want to get the data from the database and passing the ID that is coming in as a parameter. Now here, that is when the value is selected from the drop down, we want to assign the value ID to this ID here. And when you click on the save object, this is what you want to do. We want to first check from the database. In case they are null, then return this. Okay, so after returning this, it's also going to check for this. If the period is also less than 0, return this as well. Okay, but in case the ID is greater than 0, it means you want to update. We call this update method. And now in case the ID is equal to 0, it means you want to also add. We call this add service method. And I will pass in the results equal to this message and I return. Okay, so this is going to return the page in case it works successfully. Now the next thing that we are doing here is build object bill. So we create a new bill object over here, because you know here when the parameter changes, we are creating a new bill as well. So after creating a new bill, we want to then create an object. We want to set this default object to 0. And that's what we are doing over here. Then navigate to this bill link or the page. Now, there's a method, go to home. In case this method is clicked, what do you want to do? You want to just navigate to the bill's home page. Yeah. So you can see that from this, the last one is the value change. You can see the value change, you want to get the starting date and assign it to this value change. So you can see we are saying that the bill object dot starting date is equal to the args over here dot value dot date. So that is what we are doing from this area. All right, so we can now save this and an add bill is done. Now the next bill that we need to create here is going to be the bill itself. Okay, so how do you get the bill, or how do you get the view to display the bill as well? That's the next thing that we are going to create here. Let's click on solution, and now in here where we have these pages, let's create one as a bill component. So I click on this and add razor component, and I will change this as a bill component. So inside this bill component, what we need to do is let's use this. You know, this code will be available at the GitHub as well, so maybe there won't be any needed for you to have to write everything. Just go to the check the description and you can actually just grab the source code over there. Okay, this is what we are doing for this home page. The route is built. We inject our navigations over here and the service and also the JavaScript runtime. So here you are using an card. Within the card, we are using this SF grid, that's the data grid. And you can see these are the columns that we are specifying, and these are the tools that we are specifying over here. That's the toolbar. And in case this edit button is clicked, in case add or update, add or delete button is clicked, you want to call this. Okay, we have our SF grid set over here. Now you can see we have our toolbar, so we want to add, edit, delete, cancel, and also search. We have our bill object created. That's a list. So when the page initializes, we call this method, and you know that the definition for this method, we want to get all bills from the database, then we assign it to the list that we have. When action button is clicked, if it is add, navigate to this add component, add bill. If it is delete, you want to use confirm. If it is yes, call this delete bill service, pass in the row ID, and now load the data, load this data, and that is a method here. And also refresh the grid. Okay, if it is edit, navigate to add bill and pass in the ID. You see, now when it comes to this add bill, when it changes, when parameter changes, you know it is accepting. If you check here on parameter set async, we set if the parameter of this is greater than 0, then you can see that from here we are going to set the title to update. Then the parameter that is coming in here, we pass in as a get build async. We get the data from this, we assign to this object. The same object is what we are using in the form. So it's going to get at the current or the specific build provided by the ID. Okay, and we use that to grab the whole data from the service. Okay, so you can see using this form, using the data grid is very simple. You do not have to use a lot of codes for that. Just a self grid is going to do everything for us. Alright, so this is what we are doing for the whole project. Now with this, the next thing that we have here is you have to create an index page, and that is what you have to click to display the form, to display the current bill and also the bill history. So I'm going to use the index component here. Okay, so let's use this index component. So we can just clear this. And now with the index component, we need to use some cards to display the whole list and also the current ones and the other ones as well. So you can see from here that we create an object that's the due build. We want to grab all the due build. So when you check here the code, you can see we have a list of builds, a list of due builds, a list of build history. So we grab them. When the page loads, you call this method. Now this method is going to handle all of this from the service and I get them. So as the page loads, if any of the fields here, if any of this object here has the data from the database, it's going to be loaded to this various object. And the next thing is when we click on pay bill, you know we're going to accept, you know, when we were creating the service, we use the ID also the date. So we have to also pass in that. We call the service. We have passing the parameters, ID and the date. Okay. We call this method again to get the entire data, and we navigate to itself and refresh the page. Now let's check the code. The first one is going to display empty. So it seems you don't have any item or any due bill. That is when due bill.count is less than or equal to 0. In case it is more than that, they want to loop through and then display. So when you check here, we are using card, okay, and here we are we want to get all bills which have the paid as false. So if the paid is true, you don't want to do that. You want to just have the bills which have paid as false, and we want to order them by bill type. So if it is monthly bill, you want to get all monthly bill. Maybe if you may want to add yearly bill, you want to display all yearly bill as well. So you can see we are using card, and on the card we are using tables in the card. So you know all these are the graphics. So this is just a design that we are using. So table body, we have in the table over here. You can see we have the TD, the type, and now we specify this. That's a bill type. Is it monthly or weekly? So even with the build type, you have it set over here. Now what you see here is the number of the build name. So month name, we use this to get, you can see this is going to give us the month number 9 or 8. To get the name of that month, we have to convert it into date format info to get the specific date info, okay, or that's a specific number of the month, each name. So we use this method to get the name as well, and now we display the name and also we add the year, and that's the due date. So due date too, we display the due date, and now we set it to short string to exclude the time from it. We want to have only the month, the year, and also the day. Okay, and then the bill amount, the amount that the bill is supposed to have at the end of every month, we display it. Then we're going to format it to this way. Okay, when it comes to the footer, we say if it is paid, you can see we are using a switch. So initially the off label is what bill, meaning it is not paid. When this button is clicked as I've paid, you want to pass in this bill ID. But before you pass in this bill ID, you know we store them here for the immediate one. We have bill ID, and you're referring to this bill.id. We have this date, and now we store it to this bill due date. Okay, so we pass the two data parameters into this method. Then we click on pay bill. So notify the application if you pay that bill, and as soon as I click that bill, it's going to set that switch. It's going to set the pay to true, and in case you set the pay to true, it's going to move from that table to the other table. That's going to be the bill history. Okay, and now the due bill won't have that data anymore. And as soon as it is going to the bill history, what are we doing? This, you want to calculate the sum, the total amount. So we are checking that if dbill.paid is equal to false, you want to check those bills which have paid as true, no, as false. Now we going to calculate it. So you can see we are using the same card, and now we are going to use dbill.wherePaid is equal to false.sum. So we want to sum all the amount. If you want it to just string like that. Okay, if history is empty, display you have no payment history. But in case history is not empty from the database, it has data, it has records, then loop to the same records. Now the same info that we made here, we just have to copy it from this first one over here. Okay, that is a bill. You just have to copy from here, and now you paste it because as you can see, it has the same data, the same records here. Just that it has to move from the one table to another one. And now the last object that we modified here, it is the SF switch. You will see we are having only the switch, the bind attribute. Okay, we have only the bind attribute here, but we are not having any method because here it is already paid. So you want to set it to true because defaultly this page is going to be true. As soon as this page is going to be true, this switch is going to on. You're going to switch, and you're going to see this paid bill. That is exactly what we are doing. Very simple one as well. So that is all thing. I can just minimize this in this way. Now we have this. What we're going to do here is we're going to save this application, and let's try to build this and now run this application and see what we have done. So right click and now build this application. So the process is done. Now let's add the Syncfusion link. That's for the style sheet and also the CSS. No, that is the JavaScript file as well. So let's go to the pages, host.cs HTML, and now we need to add these two lines for the script and also for the themes. Alright, now aside from this, to enable us to get the DAX mode and to have that first design, maybe you can just navigate to the shared folder, and we have a file name as nav menu. So this nav menu, let's see what we can do. So shared nav menu, and now here I'm going to change this a little bit. So I just have to copy this and I'll paste what we have here. So I just clean everything from here and maintain only two, and now navigate them to the home page. As you can see from here, the name is home, and now bill, I just navigate to this build component. Okay, now if you check here, I'm just using an OI, so open iconic. So with this open icon, I'm using this bold, and I am using the same open icon as test. So I'm going to have this B, the big B, and also the big T, and that's going to be the bill tracker. That's a very simple thing that you're using. And now if you check, you can see that we have this navbar info, and now I'm using the background of this color from this navbar. So now if I save everything here, and let's try to build this project and run it as well. Yeah, so you can see when this page loads, you have this. It seems you don't have any bill. Okay, now with this, we can click on home, and that is what we have now. When I click on bill, let's see, you're going to have this SF data grid whereby you can add bill. Yes, so you can see we have no bill in here, and we can now go on and now add a bill to that. So as soon as I click on this add bill, it does navigate to this add bill component, and now since the parameter there is 0 initially, you're going to have this pop up. Okay, we can add bills such as, so let's see, you need electricity bill over here, select the period. So you can see we have no period. Now for this period, we need to create a component, a form for that. But for the meantime, let's launch our DB browser, and now let's click on open database. And our database, we navigate to the project, mini project, and as you can see, there is the project folder. So I'm going to open this, and there's the database. So in here, you will see the period name. Let's add monthly. So click on. Okay, so new. And now with this new, I just pass in monthly and save that. Okay, so as soon as I refresh this page, I'm going to have that in place. So add, and now let's see. So you can see I have this monthly set over here, and I can now keep on and do that. So monthly, and I input the amount, and also set this to active. We can also choose date, and so you can see from the day that we are restricting it to the current date from today, because we set this minimum and maximum date. So let's first check it over here, and I click on add bill, and then this is going to be added to the form. Okay, this bill is not yet up. Now when the time is up to 29th, this bill is going to pop up on the home page like this. So when we check the code where we have this bill, you can see from the bill, add bill here, add bill component, you can see we set the minimum and the maximum. So as you can see from here, we have an SF date picker. The minimum date is what date.now, and then the maximum date is date.now. So we want to set the date now, or we can set the date next month. We don't want to go backwards like 1 month ago, 2 months ago. No, don't do that. I want to set it for current month. Okay, that's where I want to set the data. So it is advisable to set the data at the beginning of the month, to set the bill at the beginning of the month, or you can set it at the beginning of the month, so that when the month ends, or when the month is due, it can just populate and add the data as you expected. All right, so that is it for this video. I believe you guys enjoyed it watching. I also enjoyed doing with you as well. So check the GitHub, check the description, the link is there. You can have the code over there, so get it and clone it from the GitHub. If you like what I'm doing, please give me a thumbs up, and also if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe for us. And the next thing is you can check the playlist and have a lot of lessons and videos over there for you. Thank you so much, and I believe I'm going to catch you up in the next video. After this, I'm going to create this on a mobile app. So now this is a web application. We're going to have a mobile or Android or iOS application soon, so check the playlist and you're going to have it soon as it drops. Also subscribe, so as soon as I upload that video, you're able to receive it as well. Thank you so much, and I'm going to catch you up in the next video.